I thought today's video would be a good opportunity to just shed a little bit of light on how gigs within the French Quarter work. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, my name is Travis Mark. I'm the host of this channel and also the Musician's Mentor podcast. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new, welcome. Please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button while you're here. Feel free to drop us a like or a comment. And don't forget to check out the Musician's Mentor podcast. It's on the playlist section somewhere on this page. Today, I want to shed a little bit of light on how gigs within the French Quarter work. I'm mostly going to be talking about Bourbon and Frenchman Street because that is what a lot of people regard the French Quarter as. But obviously, there are a lot of other venues outside of the French Quarter where bands are still making a living. So let's start with clearing up how gigs within the French Quarter work in general. In my experience, most bands within this area are playing covers of various genres at various venues. And how the bookings work are on a residency type basis. So for example, you might have a reggae band that play at a specific club on Frenchman Street every Tuesday night. You might have a jazz band that play on a specific club on Bourbon Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights. You could have a just standard top 40 band that plays 7 nights a week at one specific venue on either Bourbon or Frenchman. You can have bands that play daytime slots, nighttime slots, weekend slots. It all depends on the structure of the band and the structure of the management from the venue. The bands that I'm in have done residencies on Bourbon Street on weekly basis, meaning we show up once a week. We don't come back until that same day and same time the following week. Likewise, I've played with bands that have played daily, and certain band members will rotate depending on the week's schedule. But again, they will play a certain time slot at a certain venue for however long that commitment is for. Some of the guys on Bourbon Street and Frenchman Street have been there for 20 or 30 or even 40 years. Some of them are new guys who kind of pass through town and either don't stick around long or are navigating their way through the city into different towns and territories. Most times you're looking at time slots ranging from 3 hours all the way up to 8 hours or sometimes even more, depending on the band. And you get paid per set. So we're not actually talking, oh, you're playing from hypothetically 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock to midnight. Yes, those are your hourly times, but sets vary depending on the band leaders. And from what I've seen here, most bands work within 45, 50, or an hour and a half increments, with others not even providing any increments, so you don't actually get a break. Now, that drives a lot of people nuts because, you're not a workhorse, but likewise, I suppose a different way to think of it is you are getting to make money as a musician, and most people would kill for that opportunity. So you have to make those decisions for yourself. I can't do that for you. I'm just kind of letting you know how I've seen it work. Most venues do have some sort of backline so that drummers don't typically have to take a whole drum kit. It's worth checking out the venue because that is, again, dependent on the venue and their management. Money-wise, depending on the act and depending on the venue, will depend on what you get paid. But usually we're talking about a minimum of between $20 and $30 per set per member, plus tips. Most bands will have tip jars or tip buckets and even walk that tip jar or tip bucket around during one of the band's songs or a break. That's basically an upsell for bands that are guaranteed money per set. And again, you're typically looking at about 5-6 sets minimum, depending on the venue. Again, you need to take this with a pinch of salt because depending on the structure of the venue, that can change. Some bands are also pretty good about selling merchandise like shirts or CDs or key rings and magnets, little things like that to help the bottom line at the end of the night. But some venues here, believe it or not, frown upon that, which I was shocked to see when I first moved here. But again, depending on the structure of the venue, you have to decide if you are willing to deal with that or if it's worth looking past. Now, while some venues do pay a guarantee per set, others don't. Some will give you a minimum or 20% of the bar, and then the rest comes down to tips. Now, 20% of the bar can be quite lucrative if you are a band that is able to pull people into that venue. If you are not, you're walking away with the minimum for the night, which again is still a positive because it's better than nothing. But if you know that certain venues are going to pay you a guarantee, my school of thought is, are those gigs worth doing? Now, again, depending on your level and if you're trying to get into the scene, those gigs might be worth doing. If you're a little bit more established or have been doing this for as long as someone like myself, I try and avoid those gigs. That is just my opinion. I'm not looking down upon them. I think everybody finds their place where they should find their place. That being said, there are a couple venues in town that offer basically nothing. Just the opportunity for you to play for tips. Again, some musicians do this. I will not do this. I value myself a little bit higher than that. But again, depending on your situation, this could be a good situation for you. For example, there are some places closer to the French market where there is foot traffic all day. And I've got some friends who completely milk that opportunity and make more doing that than what they would getting the guarantees at the venues. Likewise, I've got some friends who've busked on the street, and I've mentioned that I did that for a while, and they and myself during that period noticed that you could make more on the street than what you could at a venue. This is all variable stuff that you have to take into account for your situation. But you're looking at a couple different factors. Residencies, one-offs. Do you get paid per set? Do you get paid percentage of the bar? Are you allowed to sell merchandise? How many days you're there? Or is it a weekly thing or a monthly thing? How many gigs you can do within that little area without potentially rubbing the management of the venue you're already playing the wrong way? And scheduling. So all things to take into account, but you can make money depending on how much work you're willing to do or want to do. And like I mentioned earlier, if you do run your band well and you work that tip jar, you can almost double the guarantee for the night. It all depends on attendance, and it all depends on how good or not good your band is. But in a nutshell, they work like any other gig, except it's more residency based, it's more set based, and often band leaders will vary their set length depending on how many people are in said venue. A lot of times you're only playing to tourists or people that are drinking, not necessarily always appreciative of the music and the gift that you have to share. Don't take that personally. Again, rather try and shift your thinking into how lucky you are that you get to do this as a job. I hope that clears some things up for you. If I missed anything, drop me a comment below. I would love to discuss more. Until then, I'll catch you on the next one.